I'm back. It is me. It is I. It is Matthew Dawkins, the gentleman gamer, so called. What kind of claim is that? I claim to be a gentleman gamer, when in truth I'm nothing but a rogue and a reprobate, a thief and a charlatan, a killer of ideas. Hello, everybody. And yes, welcome to the Gentleman's Guide to Gaming, where I will be speaking to you in my natural accent. Because, why do I point that out? Well, let's start at the start. This past week, I had that strange thing happen again, where someone decided they would question my Britishness. They maintained that this is an accent I have been affecting for several years now on YouTube to earn more support. That in actual fact, well, this person didn't go so far as to say I was an American, like one former stalker used to say. An American with a mid-Atlantic accent, an American with a mid-Atlantic accent was, I believe, what she said. This person claimed that my actual accent was considerably more rough, a bit more nasal, you see, a bit more like this, and that I'm not actually quite so natural with my received pronunciation, if you get my meaning. And maybe that's true. Maybe this is actually my real voice. And I don't know where this person thought that they'd come to this conclusion, where they'd learned what my actual voice was. But they said that I was more... I'm drifting South African, aren't I? Yes, they said my natural voice was more London-based, more nasal, and considerably less clipped and received. And my name is the Gentleman Gamer, and I would like to tell you about Vampire the Masquerade. I will not bury another vampire, Master Bruce. I will not. Will not do it. I will not bury another kindred. That's not true. In almost every single Vampire the Masquerade game I've ran over the last few years, at least one character has ended up entombed alive or undead. I'm not sure why. I don't really know why. It just seems to happen that way. Must be some kind of psychological thing. Maybe some fear of mine. I don't know. I've never really been that bothered with enclosed spaces. But maybe it's the idea of, if you live forever, being stuck in an oil drum in concrete would probably be quite unpleasant. You know, longing for the coming of torpor. And hello to everyone who is tuning in live. Do leave your thumbs up, because if you put your thumbs up, more people will find the video. That is the way YouTube works. You need to put a thumb up, you need to comment in the chat, even if that's just to say, hi, hello, how you doing? I loved your video about this. Hello, Tonic Demonic. How is my day going? Well, it's going very, very well. I was doing some writing earlier today for Seattle, City of Curses. That's for the Curseborn RPG. And then I was doing some editing for a Pendragon book that I don't know if I'm allowed to name, so I won't. But it is quite a task, because this is a book that has changed hands many times between writers, starting all the way back with Greg Stafford, the late Greg Stafford, the late great Greg Stafford. And that means the text right now is quite discordant, and I need to get my editor head into it to make it all flow. So it will be, yeah, it's an interesting challenge. And yes, I'm doing very well. Thank you, 86 Sunni. There we go. See, we've got a few thumbs up. Do we need to return to the very bad Michael Caine impression? Michael Caine. Yeah. So anyway, first time in a while someone has come to me and said, that isn't your real accent. And I know where you're actually from, somewhere in South London. I've never lived in South London in my life, and that isn't some get out question by actually saying, in fact, I'm from West London. I lived very briefly, very, very briefly, months, in North London, in a place called Brent Cross, and I don't think I picked up an accent while I lived there. This voice of mine is as natural as any voice I might have. I know that I've definitely cultivated it in a sense, but it wasn't with intent. What does that mean? Well, so I've told this story before. I don't have a Brent Cross accent, my dear, because I only lived there for a few months. But, so, when I was at school, many, many years ago, so when I was a child, I had a voice that was distinctive. Now, in what way it was distinctive seemed to differ depending on the person picking on me. Some people said I said everything very slowly. Other people claimed I was always speaking nasally. Some seemed to think I had a really rural accent, and others claimed I spoke very posh. But the point was, I sounded different to most of the boys at my school. Oh, some people said I was very deep. I don't think I've got a particularly deep voice. I can be deep, but it's not my natural tone. So, this actually went on all the way into probably my late teens, early 20s. I had this voice that even managers at work would pick on. You know, I'd hear them imitating me. And it was quite soul-crushing in a way to be mocked into your 20s. But then I started running games. I was already playing games, but I started running games a lot. And I started this YouTube channel. And I put it pretty much entirely down to both of those things. That repeated takes, as in recording myself speaking to a camera, not only trying to speak to a camera, but to get a video recorded within, I think it was the 10-minute limit that YouTube applied back then, encouraged me to speak faster. And the more takes I did, the more confident I got with the material, and so the greater clarity I could speak with as well. And ultimately, that just became my regular voice. The voice that I use on YouTube is how I sound. I can't regress to a previous voice. I wouldn't even be able to guess at how I actually sounded. And it reminds me, hello, Schrodinger's cat. Please, everyone, leave a thumbs up. 19 people viewing, that's good. But yeah, it was always unpleasant to be mocked, of course. But I'm really I find the journey my voice went on quite fun, in a way. It's nice to be able to map it. I don't often look back at things and think, God, I wish that didn't happen. Obviously, I wish my school days hadn't been so miserable, but I'm happy with where I've ended up. And if my school days hadn't been so miserable, maybe I wouldn't have ended up here. Clumsy Fox says, did you notice the change straight away looking back? Not straight away, definitely. And I think if you could find some of my oldest videos on YouTube, I would probably sound quite different to how I do now. I think if I affect anything, it is a slightly higher tone. So when I'm speaking like this isn't my natural voice, I don't think. It feels normal to do it, but if I'm honest, this is how I actually sound. Like this voice, this tone is relaxed for me. Whereas this tone is the way I would engage people. Like when I used to do training, I would have never become a trainer if I hadn't developed confidence in my voice. Certainly. Well, I think a Geordie accent is a blessing mate. That's a or bloody. No, I can't do it. I can't do Geordie. I think the limit is saying mate. I'm not going to say way or why because that would be unfair. You mock my regional accent, tonic, demonic, I'll mock yours. How about that? So far, we haven't had many questions in this AMA, so I've got a pitch to all of you. Here is a competition. Make a note. I'll make a separate video about this at some other point, but a few months ago, I did a They Came From competition where I invited people to come up with a genre they came from hadn't explored yet, some playable archetypes for the said genre, and some cinematics that you could use with that genre. Now that was quite a challenge because They Came From already has a lot of genres, both with all of the core books, Beneath the Sea, Beyond the Grave, Classified, Cyclops' Cave, but also with Camp Murder Lake, with Witchfoot Academy, with Danger Zone, and then with the RPG anthology, with all of the genres in that. So it was quite a challenge, but I got some fantastic results. And the person whose video, because I asked people to submit these in video and post in the comments when they'd done so, uploaded a video to YouTube, I would get the winner a free copy of They Came From the RPG anthology. And it was a fantastic competition. It was a lot of fun. Very happy to do it. So that was the They Came From competition, but it's time for a new one. As you know, I am always pushing The World Below. It is the only RPG where I get royalties on sales. It is an RPG of which I feel incredibly happy. I think everything from the writing to the art, every aspect of it is about as good as I could ever want it to be. It has everything I love in an RPG present. It has horror, exploration, survival, generational play, and a really rich setting. Co-written by Ed Greenwood of Forgotten Realms fame. Now, here's the competition, everybody. If you would like a free copy of The World Below, I need you to make a video. And the video needs to cover the following. I want you to create a new settlement or community in the subterranean vast underneath, known as the world below. This community or settlement should be distinctive, whether it's politically, philosophically, structurally. Something about it needs to be interesting. So provide me with a few story hooks. Maybe it's populated, maybe it's abandoned, maybe it's recovering from something. Who knows? You come up with that part. Next, I want you to come up with a threat. Something that is threatening said community or settlement. Whether it's a monster of some kind, an environmental hazard, something that isn't already in the world below, but not from the world above. Let's not explore the world above. It is all in the world below. So, if you can create a video coming up with a new settlement or community for the world below with those hooks I mentioned, and a new threat to threaten it, something that I, as a story guide, could introduce in a session, your party of adventurers, your wanderers, discover this settlement by bashing through a thick wall. What is it they see? What is it they can do? And what is the pressing threat? Title your video The World Below Competition, or World Below RPG Competition, and comment on any of my videos to let me know that you have done it. Once you do, I will check your video out. And let's give you until the beginning of December, 1st of December. If you submit an idea, I will definitely watch your video. Doesn't matter how bad or good the quality of the video is, it's more just so that you're getting your voice out there. And I will find a way of contacting you to get you your free copy of The World Below if yours is the best of the bunch. So, please do consider taking part in this competition. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And if you don't already own a copy of The World Below, you can buy it off DriveThruRPG. And if you do already own The World Below, and you don't need a free copy, well, the great thing is, I can gift a PDF to anyone of your choosing. So if you're in a gaming group, all I need is the email address for someone in your group, and I can gift them a PDF. Simple as that. So, Paper Heart Path not want to show themselves on camera. Understandable, absolutely fine. Well, can I ask then that you do an audio recording only and put up a still image, maybe from The World Below? That would do. Eduardo says, yo dude, I'm so lucky to catch you live. Do you remember Lo Pan from Chicago by Night? He is a Chinatown sorcerer. Any ideas for why he would be in tandem with drug dealers? I think I tied myself into a knot. I believe that character was pretty much taken from Big Trouble in Little Chinatown. I don't think we call him Lo Pan in Chicago by Night 5th edition for that reason. Why would you be in tandem with drug dealers? Usually because you want your drugs to have some kind of spiritual effect on the victims. You want to drain their spiritual energy through their high, or you want to turn them into drug-addled numbskulls who will follow you around like zombies or sacrifice themselves for your whim. If you've seen the movie Weapons, you could maybe possess people who have taken your drugs. Alternatively, it is just a very good way of earning money as a vampire to deal drugs. I'm not advocating for it in real life, but some vampires struggle to hold down 9 to 5, as you might imagine. Hello, Jennifer. Link says, hi Matthew, happy Wednesday. I was sold on Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 with your review, but I'm still going to have to wait after the holidays to pick it up. Through all my fun money at Monster Kingdom and the Curseborn. You made the right choice, Link. I would certainly, while I am enjoying Bloodlines 2, I would certainly recommend people wait until the price drops. The reason I can play it with such goodwill, I think, one of the reasons, is because I was gifted a copy by Paradox Interactive. So that means I don't have to worry about shelling out money. Maybe if I'd paid for it, I would have had a slightly different take. Who knows? But as it stands, I think you're best off waiting for it to drop a little in price. That might take you a few months, because it would probably piss a lot of people off if Bloodlines 2 suddenly dropped by $20 a month after release. Jennifer wants to know, how far am I into Bloodlines 2? The live streams seem to have stopped. I'm doing 2 live streams a week, typically. Didn't get to yesterday, just because I had too much work of other kinds to do. Wow, it's getting dark quickly, isn't it? But I aim to get another live stream tomorrow. I started them on the day of release, so 2 a week hopefully getting one done tomorrow, maybe one in the weekend if I get a chance to stick to 2 a week. Where I am, I think I'm about to confront Benny, so I'm pretty early on, all told. I hope that's early on. I hope we're not near the end already. I don't think so. But yeah, that's how far I am. And as I say, I'm enjoying it. Eduardo says, thanks a lot. Very good ideas for Lopan. It's a 90s chronicle. It is indeed. If you use Lopan, hell, you could basically lift Big Trouble in Little Chinatown. Well, I am glad that I am still very, very early on in the plot for Bloodlines 2. That's the problem with only playing an hour at a time. But that does tend to be how regularly I play games these days. I don't tend to play for hours and hours and hours. I just do not have the free time to do it. And I quite appreciate that. It makes games last longer. It means I appreciate them more. If I just blast through them in 2 days, well, that was kind of, a bag of sweets rather than a, not sure where I'm going with this. Selection box. No, hang on. Terrible metaphor. Jennifer's personal evaluation of Bloodlines 2 changed several times during the game. I'd love to hear it. Feel free to post it in the comments. Always happy to hear another opinion. And, yeah, I know that there's a lot of rage. I know there's a lot of anger from some quarters of the internet regarding Bloodlines 2. But hell, I think one of the reasons we're seeing it so much, you and I, is because we're in the Vampire the Masquerade spaces. Almost every single video game, almost every single one, I admit there are some that seem to drift above the clouds, is the subject of criticism, fair and unfair. And I don't let it interfere with my enjoyment of a game, as life is too short to worry about what's winding everyone else up. Clumsy Fox says, when you first started to think of the world below to now, is it close to the first draft or very different where you thought it would creatively take you? It's pretty similar to my original concept, which is on one of the Onyx Pathcast episodes where I pitched it for a game. We were all pitching ideas at each other. I think it was something like 2-minute pitches. One of the hosts comes up with an idea, or comes up with a couple of elements, and you've then got to come up with a game based on it. And I came up with my pitch, and liked it. Liked it enough that I then turned it into a formal pitch and sent it to Rich Thomas at Onyx Path. And he liked it. There we go. I think the main way in which the world below has changed significantly, if it has changed significantly, is I probably had more of the political and philosophical side up front. So there was more that you could do with sort of force of mind and will and following and disciples and faith. And I tinkered around with that, but it just didn't work. It didn't work as a game where you'd adventure. It worked as a sort of one-shot exercise, but it didn't really work as a campaign, if you see what I mean. Magar says, given all the bad things I heard about it, I'm just glad what came out is enjoyable. I completely agree. Jennifer says, I must admit, especially after the end, I'm extremely mixed to slightly negative on the game. For Vampire the Masquerade fans, I'd go 5 out of 10. Ooh, that's an interesting review. You know what? I like a middle-of-the-road review. I think middle-of-the-road reviews are a lot more honest. People who say 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. So that isn't to say that if you go to review one of my RPGs on DriveThruRPG, you should ever give it a middle-of-the-road review. Give it a good review. Very, very good review. Now, I'm going to answer this one last question. Totally unrelated to the topic to hand, but have you ever thought about uploading your videos as audio only on something like Spotify? I did start a Gentleman Gamer podcast, got about 10 episodes in, and then I realised I couldn't be bothered. there wasn't the listenership for it, and I had no interest in building the listenership for it, is the problem. If I wanted to spend a lot of time posting them around the place, it might have worked out, but I've got far too much to do already. So that's basically it. That's why there isn't a Gentleman Game podcast. But I appear on plenty of podcasts. If you want to hear my lovely voice, listen to me on Red Moon Roleplaying, where I am a lot. Anyway, that's me done. I need to go run a game, so thank you very much for watching, and see you next time, if I can see in this darkness.